The House will come to order. Members, please take your seats. Sergeant at Arms.
The House is now in session. All persons not entitled to privilege of the floor, please retire to the gallery.
Members will rise and be led in prayer by Pastor Jacob Crayenbill, New Life Community Church, Louisa, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States, which will be led by the delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring.
Please bow your heads with me. Heavenly Father, we humble ourselves before you as the sovereign Lord over all things. We look to you for our very life and breath. Lord, we praise you this morning for who you are. And I come before you this morning to ask for your blessing on this session here today. As your word says in the Psalms, righteousness and justice are the foundation of your throne. You are not a God who delights in wickedness, and evil does not dwell within you. Lord, I pray that each delegate here would see that their position has been granted to them by you, and may they stand and vote and speak on the behalf of justice and righteousness and the truth as you do, O Lord. May they take a stand against evil and wickedness that our state is facing. May they vote to protect lives and stop the shedding of innocent blood. May they push back against the evil agendas that seek to destroy your good design. Grant them all wisdom, O Lord, to make the right decisions. May they fear you in all that they do and say, and may we all recognize each one of us will stand before you and give an account for our lives and the decisions we make. And, O Lord, above all else, I pray for every person in this room today, if they do not have a relationship with you, that they would seek you, O Lord, through faith in your Son, Jesus Christ, who you sent to save a bunch of sinners like all of us in here this morning. Oh Lord, you are the only hope for our salvation, for this state, for this country, and for the world. May this session seek what is pleasing and glorifying in your eyes, all for your glory. We pray. Bless this great state of Virginia. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. The members will answer the roll call by indicating their presence on the electronic voting board. Clerk will close the roll.
Mr. Speaker, a quorum is present.
Pursuant to House Rule 3, I have examined and approved the Journal of House of Delegates for Friday, January 17, 2025. Motions and resolutions under Rule 39 pursuant to the provisions of Rule 40 are now in order. Does the clerk have any announcements or communications?
No announcements or communications, Mr. Speaker. Accordingly, in this first portion of the morning hour, pursuant to House Rule 40, Speaker, request that you use your request to speak button for the appropriate actions outlined on the voting board.
Delegate from Botetourt, Delegate Austin.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise for a motion.
Delegate has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, HJ 472 on page 9 of the calendar, I would ask that bill go by until Friday, January 24th.
Delegate from Botetourt, Delegate Austin moves that HJ 472 go by until January 24th. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The motion is agreed to.
Thank you, sir.
The delegate from Hanover, Delegate Fowler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I guess I can say I have an announcement.
Delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With us this morning, delivering our invocation, is the youth pastor at Life Community Church in Louisa, Virginia. His name is Jacob Crayenbill, and he's here with his wife, Reagan. Let me see, like I say, pastors the youth at Life Community Church in Louisa County, and Jacob and Reagan, Mr. Speaker, just recently married this past September. Congratulations on that. But like his delegate, Mr. Speaker, he loves to hunt and fish for bass. So again, I hope you will join me in welcoming Pastor Jacob Graham Bill and his wife Reagan to the House of Delegates. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Welcome this morning. I can hear the youth in his voice. He got a little fire with him, a little cayenne pepper. The delegate from Hampton, Delegate Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise for an introduction.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, today it's my honor and privilege to welcome the American Federation of Teachers of Virginia to the Virginia House of Delegates. If they are here, I ask that they stand so that you can see them. There they are. There they are. As a former educator myself and the current president of the Hampton Federation of Teachers, an affiliate of the American Federation of Teachers, I think we all recognize the profound impact that school, staff, and unions have on our communities. Their dedication to improving education, advocacy for workers' rights, and the commitment to broader social issues are truly commendable. AFT Virginia plays a vital role in supporting teachers and ensuring that they have the revenues that they need. We thank them for their tireless effort to create a better future for Virginia and our nation. Will you please give a warm welcome to the American Federation of Teachers, Virginia.
Welcome to the Capitol today. The delegate from Chesterfield, Delegate Corner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for an introduction.
The delegate has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to welcome the Girl Scout Troop 5391. If they would rise, please. Our Girl Scout troop visiting today is based out of Fort Gregg Adams in the 75th District. Every member of the troop is a military child. Their leaders are connected by being military spouses or veterans themselves. This troop is a multi-level troop of 20-plus girls ranging in age from kindergarten to 12th grade. They started their visit to the Capitol early this morning, coming to see me and taking tours and probably stopping by some of your offices. Their leaders with them today are Hallie Wolf, Julia Griffin, Mallory Jansen, and Ruby Mancines. I'd like to tell the body that we have amongst the young ladies in the gallery future music teachers, future history teachers, genetic scientists, natural scientists, and psychiatrists. Really exciting to hear the journeys where these young ladies want to go in our Commonwealth. If the body would give them a warm house welcome.
Welcome, Girl Scouts. I have a little Girl Scout here today, too, and she's probably back there hustling cookies. The delegate from Winchester, Delegate Wiley.
Good morning, good afternoon, Mr. Speaker. I rise for a motion.
The delegate has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, I move to pass by HJR 465, found on page 9, until Monday, February 17th, 2025.
Delegate from Winchester, Delegate Wiley, moves that we pass by HJR 465, found on page 9, to February 17, 2025. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. HJR 465, found on page 9, is passed by until February 17, 2025. The delegate from Richmond City, Delegate Carr.
Mr. Speaker, I rise for purpose of an introduction.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today we are joined by members of the Virginia Probation and Parole Association in the gallery, and I'd ask them to stand, please. Mr. Speaker, Virginia's probation and parole officers are tasked with the duty and responsibility to not only keep Virginians safe, but to also lead with empathy and compassion as they provide resources and guidance to individuals placed on supervision. Probation and parole officers oversee these individuals on their path to becoming fulfilled, successful, and contributing members of society. Their work is critical to keeping our recidivism rate low. Today, the probation and parole officers are experiencing challenges with their workforce recruitment and retention. The recommended guidelines are for a caseload ration of 50 to 1 for moderate to high-risk supervisees and 20 to 1 for an intensive caseload. Virginia currently has a closer to 70 to 1 ratio. We thank them for their work. Mr. Speaker and members of the body, I hope you will all join me in giving them a warm House welcome.
Welcome to the Capitol today. The delegate from Shenandoah, Delegate Gilbert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for an introduction.
Delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, I know that the Speaker, one of the many rewarding things he gets to do is select young pages to join us and work with us here at the Capitol. In the gallery, Mr. Speaker, I think we have a slew of our most recent page class from the class of 2024. If they'd please rise, and any other pages we have, former pages. As the members may know, our pages typically come back and have a reunion on this day each session, and I know that the class of 2024 is here pretty strong, so I hope we would welcome all our former pages to the Capitol and thank them again for working with us. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah. And one of y'all need to come down there and give me a Diet Dr. Pepper. The delegate from Prince William, Delegate Thomas.
Mr. Speaker, I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
Delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today with us in the gallery are members of the Virginia Data Center Reform Coalition, if they could please stand. The Data Center Reform Coalition represents 27 advocacy organizations, 20 HOAs across the Commonwealth. It was established December 1st, 2023, and includes such organizations as the Sierra Club, the American Battlefield Trust, the Rappahannock Tribe, the Piedmont Environmental Council, the Coalition to Protect Prince William, and the National Park Conservation Alliance. Over 100 members are here at the Capitol with us here today on Data Center Lobby Day to talk to their legislators and many others about supporting bills that protect our homes and communities from data center overgrowth. I hope it's the will of the body to give them a warm House welcome.
Welcome to the Capitol today. The delegate from Montgomery, Delegate Obenshain.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for the purpose of two introductions.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, first, joining us here in the gallery today is a group of undergraduate students from the Virginia Tech College Republicans. If they're here, I would ask that they please rise. Mr. Speaker, these students, they volunteer. These students activists volunteer, they advocate, they help register new voters on campus, and they also engage with the broader Blacksburg community. Through their activities, they demonstrate the best of the motto of Virginia Tech, ut prosim, which means that I may serve. They're here today to observe their government in action and to participate before their semester begins tomorrow. I would ask the body to give them a warm House welcome.
Welcome to the Capitol today. Delegate from Newport News, Delegate Price. Two introductions. I'm sorry. Number two, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, also with us today, we have representatives of the Virginia Association of Commonwealth's Attorneys. If they're here, I would ask that they please rise. Mr. Speaker, representing the 120 elected Commonwealth's attorneys across the Commonwealth, as well as their attorneys, their staff, their paralegals, and their victim witness coordinators, VACA is here advocating for policies that help to keep our Commonwealth safe and to protect the rights of both crime victims and defendants. I want to thank them for their service to our communities, and I would ask the Chamber to give them a warm House welcome.
Welcome to the Capitol today. The delegate from Newport News, Delegate Price.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I rise for the point of an introduction.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As we know, for Lobby Day, there are lots of groups of adults that have come to share their input on legislation. But also, Mr. Speaker, there is a very special young constituent of the 85th District from Newport News, and I ask that he please stand. He is an 8th grader with thoughtful questions and a thirst for knowledge for the legislative process. We talked about the hypocrisy around the TikTok situation and other issues, but specifically, Mr. Speaker, he raised the importance of our protecting civics education so that he and his friends can learn more about the work that we do, and hopefully he will be in one of these seats soon, but not too soon. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And to welcome him and all of our young advocates, I ask that we would give them a warm house welcome.
Delegate from Loudoun, Delegate Reeser.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. I rise for an introduction.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Seated in the gallery today are representatives of the Humke Center, and I ask that they please rise. Beginning their work over a decade ago as an affiliate of the National Korean American Service and Education Consortium, the Humke Center has spent the last 13 years uplifting Asian American and all working class communities in eastern Loudoun County and the region, and advocating at the General Assembly for economic opportunity, social fairness, and racial justice. Through grassroots organization, civic engagement, youth leadership, and local outreach, the Humke Center works to address current community issues in the short term and find long-term policy solutions. The Humke Center educated 244,563 Asian Americans on their voting rights and options, helped 573 individuals get affordable health care, and empowered 443 individuals with citizenship applications while supporting and starting or growing over 43 small businesses. They've done amazing work advocating for communities across Northern Virginia, and I hope it is the will of the body to give them a warm house welcome.
The delegate from Henry County, Delegate Phillips.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for an announcement.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you. I'd like to ask all of my colleagues to join me today in wishing my mentor and I believe a friend to all of us, Delegate Danny Marshall, a very happy birthday. Our thoughts and our prayers are certainly with him today. And if he were here today, I would join him and Mary in their annual slice of carrot cake. Apparently, that's his thing every birthday. So, Danny, we miss you. I know you're watching, and look forward to you rejoining us soon. Thank you, sir.
Delegate Marshall, we're all praying for you, praying for your speedy recovery. Delegate from Richmond City, Delegate Jones.
Mr. Speaker, I rise for the purpose of 2 introductions.
Delegate has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, first I'd like to introduce in the gallery today a nonprofit here in the Richmond metro area. I Vote for Me, the Truth Seekers Project, and Love Tastes Good. I Vote for Me is a Richmond-based nonprofit. I would ask that they would stand, the members, if they would stand if they're in the gallery. I Vote for Me is a Richmond-based nonprofit focused on promoting self-advocacy and the protection of human rights, primarily in the education justice space. They are proud members of the Commonwealth Institute's Collective Work Coalition, organized by members of the Dignity in Schools campaign and recently accepted into the 3rd National Ignite the South Fellowship. We believe in the power of one to impact the lives of many, and today the I Vote for Me Youth Leadership Council is joined by the Truth Seekers Project and Love Tastes Good as they are equally invested in shifting outcomes by centering the impacted. I request and just ask members to join me in extending a warm house welcome to those wonderful groups.
Welcome to the Capitol today. The delegate from Richmond City, Delegate Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the gallery today, we are joined by the men of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. Y'all come on and get up so everyone can see y'all in the year of 1911. The other part of 1911, the Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated is a historically African American fraternity in its 114th year, founded January 5th, 1911 on the campus of Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana. The fraternity has 250,000 members with over 700 collegiate and alumni chapters located in the United States and abroad. Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity sponsors programs providing community service, social welfare, academic scholarship, civil rights, education, and mentorship here in the Commonwealth of Virginia and throughout the world. Today, they are having their 17th annual John T. Lanier Sr. Kappa Alpha Psi Virginia Legislative Day and the 3rd annual A. Donald McKeechin Luncheon. I request that the members join me in extending a wonderful warm house welcome to the fraternity, so nice they had to name it twice, the men of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated and the Kappa League. God bless y'all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Welcome, Noops. Pursuant to House Rule 30, the Journal shall reflect that the following members are away on pressing personal business on a granted leave from today's session: Delegate Converse Fowler and Delegate Marshall. Clerk shall announce the next order of business.
Mr. Speaker, the second portion of the morning hour reserve a member request to move legislation from an uncontested calendar to the regular calendar. There is one last bill in the category of House Bills, second reading uncontested calendar, page 5, if you're following along that way. Delegate Askew's House Bill 1983 is moved out of the uncontested block and over to the regular calendar.
Delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring. Oh, no. Keep going. I'm sorry. Clerk should announce the next order.
Mr. Speaker, the third portion of the morning hour reserved for member requests for legislation goodbye for the day, and if such, the motion by the Majority Leader to effectuate that change. There are 3 in the category of House Bills on second reading regular, page 5. Delegate Helmer's House Bill 1656, bye for the day. Same category, next page, page 6. Delegate Reeser's House Bill 1915, bye for day. And then in the commending resolutions, that big category there, page 9, Delegate Wright's House Joint Resolution 475, HJ 475, bye for the day.
Now the delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that the legislation as announced by the clerk go by for the day.
The delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring, moves that the legislation as announced by the clerk go by for the day. As many in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The motion is agreed to. The clerk will announce the next order.
And finally, Mr. Speaker, the fourth and final portion of the morning hour reserved for member requests for points of personal privilege. Speaker, kindly ask you to use your request to speak button to indicate your desire to be so recognized.
Delegate from Rockingham, Delegate Wilk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for the purposes of a point of personal privilege.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I've got to admit, the past week, I've been concerned, I've been confused. Some would say that's kind of normal for me. But, Mr. Speaker, if I can preface my comments on last week, we heard the governor's State of the Commonwealth address. And I listened to that, I listened intently. And, Mr. Speaker, he had some really great ideas. First of all, he talked about ending taxes on tips for service workers. I think that's a good idea. People who wait tables and cut hair and do nails shouldn't be paying taxes on those tips. Things have been tough enough on them, and they could sure use a little extra money back in their pockets. So that's why I think that's a good idea. Next, he talked about giving $300 worth of car tax relief to families that make less than $100,000 a year. Now, on average, that'll knock their car tax, if it doesn't wipe it all out, just almost completely out. Mr. Speaker, I haven't met anyone yet that likes the car tax. And again, folks in the lower and middle income ranges, that's significant help, what we're proposing to do at $300. And it's my hope that we're not losing sight of how important $300 is to our citizens and their families. And then the governor started talking, Mr. Speaker, about the opportunity scholarships for lower income families to help their children go to a private school. The governor proposed $5,000 for 10,000 kids. Mr. Speaker, that could be a game changer for lower income families that are trying to get their children a better education. And again, I think that's a marvelous idea. Mr. Speaker, here's the thing I've been concerned about. Since that time, I've heard folks talking about, shouting it loud and clear that these plans are designed to benefit rich people. I think the exact words were the ultra-wealthy corporations and special interests are the true winners under the governor's plan. Mr. Speaker, this past Saturday, my wife and daughter and I had a chance to go out and get a bite to eat, and the lady that waited on our table, she didn't look like a wealthy corporation, Mr. Speaker. And she has special interest because she's concerned about her kids. She's concerned about her husband hadn't been able to work because of the bad weather we've been having. Mr. Speaker, we've also heard our colleagues have been running down the car tax relief, saying it would be unfair to provide car tax relief to working families because not everyone owns a car. That's true. I can't argue that point, Mr. Speaker, but I would say that the ones that own a car are the ones that have been paying the tax. I mean, it's pretty simple, Mr. Speaker. And I would also say those same individuals, they're the ones that pay the gas tax, they pay the registration and other fees that go along with owning a vehicle, and they sure could use a break, that this tax cut would do. Mr. Speaker, another thing that really confuses me is one of our colleagues running down the Opportunity Scholarship Fund. I think that they said it was designed to benefit rich families who can already afford to send their children to private schools. Now, Mr. Speaker, the bill itself establishes that only families that earn an income less than twice the amount of eligibility for free school lunch are eligible. Now, for a family of four, that's about $62,400. That's not a terrible wage, Mr. Speaker, but I would in no way describe that as being rich when you consider that the median income in Loudoun County is approaching $180,000. Now, how are lower income families who can't afford to send their kids to private schools what's being called rich families who can already afford to send their children to private schools? Mr. Speaker, that doesn't square. Maybe you can help me understand how we interpret that. I wish our citizens had $1 for every floor speech, every bill, every subcommittee meeting, every committee meeting, every floor speech that talks about families and children. Maybe if they did, we wouldn't need this. But Mr. Speaker, wishes don't help these families. If I didn't know better, I mean, it feels like there were individuals that were hearing the governor's speech, but they weren't listening. And it seems like, these things have been twisted around to suit a particular narrative, Mr. Speaker. I hope I'm wrong, but I think that a lot of our citizens that heard the governor's speech and now they're hearing these statements being put out there, misidentifying what the true intent was, they're listening, and we owe it to them to pay attention and seek help for our citizens through this tax relief. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Delegate from Hampton, Delegate Cardoza.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for a point of personal privilege.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to revisit some remarks I made on the same occasion last year. It's about an interview with Clarence Jones, one of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s primary speechwriters. Even at 93, Mr. Jones is as sharp as he ever was, recounting his time with Dr. King. Clarence Jones helped smuggle the notes that would later become the letter from the Birmingham jail out of the lockup. It was scribbled on toilet paper and some old newspaper clippings. And he had a powerful message for our black community today that he felt have been forgotten. A number of people on the other side of the aisle take offense when members of my party quote Dr. King's dream speech, in which he said he wanted his children to live in a world where people are not judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. they see this aspiration for a colorblind society as a negative. Clarence Jones agrees with that to a point, as he told an interviewer, "You don't want to be blind to color, you want to see color. I want to be very aware of color," but he emphasizes, "I just don't want to attach any conditions of equality to color." Mr. Jones insists young black men and women commit themselves irredeemably to pursuit of personal excellence. Be the very best you can. If you can do that, our color becomes more irrelevant, because we demonstrate black is beautiful not just as a slogan, but black is beautiful because of its commitment to personal excellence, which has no color. We have made such powerful progress, you and I, Mr. Speaker. We are proof of that progress. The Lieutenant Governor, the President of the other body down the hall, the Chair of Senate Rules Committee, and we're all proof of that progress, Mr. Speaker. So many people of all colors refuse today to acknowledge not just the progress we have made, but deny that any progress is possible. As Mr. Jones said, it's impossible to read Abram X. Kendall's prize-winning book, Stamped from the Beginning, and come away believing that America is irredeemably racist, beyond redemption. It's a theory that Mr. Jones vehemently disagrees with. That would violate everything that Martin Luther King and I worked for, he said. It would mean it is not possible for white racist people to change. Well, I'm telling you something, he adds. We have empirical evidence that we changed the country. That change came from working people who did not look like us, who did not worship like us, but recognized that we have a common bond, that we are all fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of our Creator. The person who is 80% my friend is not 20% my enemy. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, while we have far to go, we have come so very far from the darkness where we began. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Delegate from Norfolk, Delegate Anthony.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to honor the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., who reminded us that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Yet I would insert, Dr. King understood that the arc does not bend on its own. It bends because people of courage and conviction step into the gap where justice falters, truth stumbles, righteousness is sidelined. It bends because we act, not out of convenience, but a deep commitment to what is right. Today I stand before you at a time of profound juxtaposition and audacious contrast, when the urgency of Dr. King's message could not be more evident. We live in a moment when truth is twisted, freedoms are under siege, and justice is turned back. The prophet Isaiah's words echo loudly. Not confined to history, these ancient words are a prophetic diagnosis of our present. However, Dr. King did not leave us to lament. He called us to act. The moral arc bends when we rise together to do the hard work of justice. The moral act bends when we create opportunities for those left out, that we commit to equity and protect the freedoms that define us as a people. Isaiah tells us that God looked upon the failures of justice and was appalled, not just by the presence of evil, but by the absence of intervention. The text says, He couldn't believe what he saw. Not a soul around to correct this awful situation. So God did it himself, took on the work of salvation. But God's intervention is not an excuse of our passivity. It is an invitation to partner in the work of justice. The arc bends when we make justice accessible to all, addressing housing disparities, ensuring that no family goes without proper shelter, and build communities where safety is rooted in fairness, not fear. The arc bends when we repair broken systems. The arc bends when we create pathways to opportunity for all. It bends when every child has access to quality education, regardless of their zip code. It bends when parents have access to affordable childcare. The arc bends when we address systemic injustices. The arc bends when we confront policies and systems that perpetuate harm and replace them with structures that lift people. The arc bends when every voice heard, every vote counted. The arc bends when we fight against censorship and for the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Dr. King understood that freedom was not just about the absence of oppression, but the presence of opportunity and dignity for everyone. This is our charge, to bend the arc, not only for today, but for generations to come. So today I asked, what are we doing for justice? The moral arc will not bend itself. It will bend when we rise to meet moments like this, not with hollow rhetoric, bloated platitudes, or crocodile tears, but with action. It will bend when we commit ourselves to the sacred work of justice. So this is the work that honors Dr. King's legacy. This is the work that the prophet Isaiah called us to do. And this work will ensure that the arc of justice continues to bend, not by chance, but because we dare to stand in the gap and bend it ourselves. And that, Mr. Speaker, we will do.
Clerk will call the calendar.
Mr. Speaker, the calendar for today, Monday, January 20th, 2025, for the Virginia House of Delegates. Page 1, first category, House bills on third reading, regular calendar. 2 bills in this category. Page 1, first up, House Bill 1638, legislation relating to the Department of Housing and Community Development, Virginia Residential Landlord and Tenant Act, Affordable Housing, Criminal Record Screening Model Policy.
Shall the bill pass? I was looking if somebody could. Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 50, noes 47.
Ayes 50, noes 47. The bill passes.
Continuing this category, House Bills third reading regular. Next up is House Bill 1718. This legislation relates to the Virginia Residential Landlord and Tenant Act again, this time enforcement by localities.
Shall the bill pass? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 53, noes 43.
Ayes 53, noes 43. The bill passes.
Continuing with today's calendar, next category, House bills on second reading, uncontested calendar block, 6 measures in that block, beginning bottom of page 2 of the printed calendar, if you're following that way. House Bill 1740, legislation to amend and reenact section of the Code of Virginia relating to the Virginia State Militia, officers of certain educational institutions, Randolph-Macon Academy. This legislation report of the Committee on Education.
Doug from Loudoun, Delegate Reed.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 1740 adds Randolph-Macon Academy, which is located in Front Rural Virginia, to the existing code section that currently allows certain other institutions, including VMI, the Virginia Women's Institute at Mary Baldwin, Fishburne Military School, Massanutten, and Virginia Tech Corps of Cadets, for their staff and teachers to be commissioned officers in the Virginia Military Unorganized and to be able to wear uniforms. I hope it will be the will of the body to engross the bill and move it on to its third reading.
Continuing with the block, top of page 3, House Bill 1798 is legislation to amend and reenact various sections of the Code of Virginia, repeal several others, all relating to agricultural commodity boards, agricultural council, appointment and membership terms, production areas. The committee will support Committee on Agriculture, Chesapeake, and Natural Resources.
Delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Helmer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, House Bill 1798 amends various provisions relating to the appointment terms and quorums of agricultural commodity boards. I hope it is the will of the body to pass this bill, engross this bill, and pass it on to its third reading.
Next up in the block, House Bill 1806, legislation to amend the Code of Virginia relating to students with individualized education programs or Section 504 plans, emergency protocol and guide. Legislation reported to Committee on Education with an amendment nature of substitute.
Delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Cohen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 1806 would require each individualized education program implemented for a public school student with a disability to contain a section addressing accommodations and supports for the student during emergency evacuations and situations as appropriate and identified by the IEP team at its next convened meeting. I ask that it be the will of the body to engross the bill and move it to its third reading.
You have a substitute.
With substitute.
Would you like to move?
I ask that the substitute be moved.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The substitute is agreed to.
Continuing with the block, bottom of page 3. Next up, House Bill 1880 is legislation to amend the Code of Virginia relating to public schools, enrollment of certain military children with disabilities, provision of special education services, and accommodation. This legislation also supports the Committee on Education.
Delegate from Prince William, Delegate Sewell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 1880 ensures Virginia's military children, particularly those with disabilities, can access uninterrupted quality education no matter where their parents are stationed. By coordinating services across school divisions and working in partnership with military command, we ensure that the children continue to thrive academically and socially, giving them the support they need to succeed no matter what the challenges their family face. Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Next up in the block, House Bill 1881. This legislation seeks to amend and reenact sections of the Code of Virginia relating to public elementary and secondary schools enrollment, dependent students of active duty service members policies. Again, this legislation reported to Committee on Education with an amendment nature substitute.
Delegate from Prince William, Delegate Sewell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 1881 demonstrates the Commonwealth of Virginia's continued commitment to supporting not only our growing veteran population, but the children of the men and women of our armed services. Specifically, the bill addresses educational needs of children whose parents are full-time active duty service members by allowing school boards to establish a policy so students can enroll in Virginia public schools regardless of the school division's geographical boundaries in recognition of the unique challenges military families face. Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill be engrossed and passed its third reading.
Will it do all of that? Yeah, will it do all of that after you move the substitute?
I'd like to move the committee substitute.
Shall the substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The substitute is agreed to.
Ms. Speaker, last up in the block is House Bill 1910, legislation to amend the Code of Virginia relating to public elementary and secondary schools nutritional standards for school meals and other foods, certain color additives prohibited. Legislation reported to Committee on Education with an amendment.
The delegate from Richmond County, Delegate Kent.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House adopt the committee amendment.
Shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The committee amendment is agreed to.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaking on behalf of House Bill 1910, this bill will improve the nutritional standards of school meals in Virginia by ensuring that artificial dyes linked to health risks, both physical and psychological, are not offered on the cafeteria menu. It passed unanimously. And Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Mr. Speaker, House Bill 1983 on the printed calendar has been moved out of the block over to the regular calendar. So just take up the block now. Just take up the block. Yeah, you just can. But you need you just need.
Shall the bills be engrossed and passed to their third reading? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Those bills are engrossed and passed on to their third reading.
Mr. Speaker, continuing with the calendar, next category, House bills on second reading regular. Second reading regular, three bills in this category. House Bill 1656 is by for the day. Therefore, the first measure before the body now is House Bill 1674, which seeks to direct the Board of Education to amend its regulations relating to accreditation requirements, professional education programs in Virginia, to provide an exemption for certain programs. The legislation was reported to the Committee on Education with amendment nature substitute.
Delegate from Albemarle, Delegate Lawfer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the House adopt the committee substitute.
Shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The committee substitute is agreed to.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members of the House. HB 1674 seeks to remove one accreditation requirement of 3 duplicative accreditations for school counselors and school psychologists. Currently, Virginia is the only state to require 3 duplicative accreditation for these critical workforce shortage areas. Virginia Department of Education has agreed to the change but requires legislative action. I move that the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed to third reading? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The bill is engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Continuing House Bill second reading, regular calendar. Next up, House Bill 1678, legislation to amend and reenact Section of the Code of Virginia relating to the Board of Education, relating to school board policies, parental notification, safe storage of prescription drugs and firearms in the household. This legislation reports to the Committee on Education.
Delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Cohen.
Thank you, sir. No substitute this time. House Bill 1678 would require each local school board to develop and implement a policy to require annual notification to the parent guardian of each student enrolled in the local school division at the beginning of each school year. The notification will remind parents of the importance of securely storing prescription drugs and also their legal responsibility to safely store any firearm in the household where minors are present. I ask that it be the will of the body to engross the bill and move it to its third reading. Thank you.
The delegate from Bedford, Delegate Griffin.
Mr. Speaker, speaking of the bill.
Delegate has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, this bill, something similar came up last year, and the concept here is that politicians in Richmond are going to tell school boards and parents what the law is and the actions that they need to take. Thomas Jefferson in the Declaration of Independence laid out what a representative government is. He said that we come here and we govern with the consent of the governed, which means that the parents and the people that live back home, they tell us what to do. And when we come here and we send a message back home that no, we're here to tell you what to do, and we're going to make the school board send preachy emails and preachy text messages about what you have to do with your guns, I don't think that's right. I think the parents that are actually reading these notices, they're the ones that are actually already following the law. And I don't think that they need to hear this from us. I think it's preachy. I think they know better already. And I think that we need to stay in our lane. And for that reason, I'd ask you to vote no.
The delegate from Middlesex, Delegate Hodges.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaking to the bill.
Delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As a pharmacist, I do believe that the discussion on safe storage of medications should be between the prescriber, the pharmacist, and the patient. And I have those conversations with folks each and every day. But when schools start to send out messages to the parents on proper storage of medications, they're not the experts. You're starting to look at access to life-saving medications, epinephrine, rescue inhalers, access to medications that patients will need immediately to save their lives. And oftentimes the messages coming from our schools can get confused. And patients will get lost in that message. I see it each and every day. For that reason, Mr. Speaker, I would vote against this bill.
Delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Cohen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaking to the bill.
Delegate has the floor.
Thank you. I feel the need to repeat a phrase that we've heard quite often, which is, I trust parents. As a reminder, this body is aware that Section 18.2-56.2 our legal code of Virginia requires all households with children under the age of 14 to securely store all firearms in the home. This year, even the Virginia Citizens Defense League isn't opposed to this bill. I'll just say that again. Even the folks with the Gun Saves Lives stickers walking through our Capitol don't oppose this one. Gun violence remains the #1 killer of our children and teens in the United States. Households that lock up their ammunition and firearms see roughly 85% fewer accidental injuries. And I want to remind folks that the #1 group of kids who are killed by accidental firearm injuries are preschoolers. Preschoolers. 3/4 of the guns that are used in school shootings, something that I know every member of this body cares deeply about, come from the home where 4.6 million American kids live in homes with at least one loaded and unsecured firearm. As a former school board member, as a former teacher, as a parent, I'm grateful to recognize the opportunity that we have just to be reminded that the people who look after our kids every day when we can't be with them are reminding us what our responsibility is when they get home to make sure that our students and our kids are not dying from accidental overdoses and not dying from unintentional gun deaths. Thank you, Speaker.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The bill is engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Mr. Speaker, return to page 5 of the printed calendar. Last bill in this category, House Bill 1983, which is legislation to amend the Code of Virginia relating to the Board of Education Support Services personnel annual collection of certain staffing data required report. This legislation report Committee on Education.
Delegate from Virginia Beach, I'll ask you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, HB 1983 requires each school board beginning with the year 25 and 26 to annually collect and submit to the Department of Education a report on the data on the average salaries of support services personnel. While robust data exists on average teacher paid by school division, there is a significant gap in transparency when it comes to salaries for support staff. This lack of accessible information hinders effort to analyze how compensation affects staff vacancies, rates, limits workers' ability to compare and advocate for fair compensation, and constrains policymakers in the crafting effective data-driven legislation. Mr. Speaker, opens the will of the body to engross this bill and pass it on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The bill is engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Mr. Speaker, continuing with today's calendar, page 6 of the printed version, following along that way. Next category, memorial resolutions laid on the Speaker's table. The memorial resolutions to be adopted in block are spread across pages 6 through 8.
Does any member desire to remove a resolution from the block? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting in block the memorial resolutions laid on Speaker's table as listed on pages 6 through 8 of the calendar shall rise. The resolutions are agreed to.
Continuing, last category in the calendar, commending resolutions laid on the Speaker's table. The commending resolutions to be adopted in block are listed on pages 8 through 13, Mr. Speaker, with the exception of House Joint Resolution 465, House Joint Resolution 472, House Joint Resolution 475. Those three have been removed from the block.
Does any member desire to remove a resolution from the block? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting in block the commending resolutions laid on Speaker's table as listed on pages 8 through 13 of the calendar will say aye. All those opposed say nay. The resolutions are agreed to.
Mr. Speaker, that completes work on today's calendar.
Per House Rule 51, the House has returned to the morning hour. Does the clerk have any additional announcements or communication?
No communication, simply the meeting's scheduled for today and tomorrow morning, which is as follows. Committee on Finance will meet 15 minutes upon adjournment of the House in House Committee Room B on the second floor. 15 minutes upon adjournment for Finance of the full House. Then Appropriations is meeting a half hour 15 minutes upon adjournment of the House. We'll update that accordingly. Appropriations is meeting 15 minutes upon adjournment of the House up on the 12th floor of the Appropriations. Once the full committee is finished, two of its subcommittees will meet. First up will be the General Government and Capital Outlay sub, and then followed by the Appropriations, Elementary and Secondary Education. So 15 upon adjournment of the House, approps, and then two of its subcommittees. Committee on Courts of Justice is foregoing its time. That meeting, full committee meeting, is canceled. However, the two subcommittees will be meeting 15 minutes upon adjournment. So Courts Committee, Civil Subcommittee will meet 15 minutes upon adjournment of the Finance Committee. They'll be in the House North Subcommittee, so just down the hall. That's a change in time. So Courts Civil Sub will meet 15 minutes upon adjournment of the Finance Committee. Also, the Committee Courts of Justice Criminal Sub will meet 15 minutes upon adjournment of the Finance Committee to help Chairman Watts. That committee, Civil Criminal, is meeting in House Room C. At 4 o'clock this afternoon, Agriculture, Chesapeake Natural Resources, Chesapeake Bay Subcommittee is meeting in the House South Subcommittee room on the second floor. That's at House Room A, House Committee Room A for ACNR at 4. Then P&E, Election Administration Sub, is meeting in the House South Subcommittee. They're at 4 as well. And the Northern Virginia Delegation Caucus is not meeting this afternoon. Looking ahead to tomorrow, Tuesday, January 21st, P&E's Constitutional Amendment Sub is not meeting, so the first legislative committee to meet will be the Education Committee's K-12 Subcommittee. They're meeting at 7:30 in House Committee Room A in the lower level. At 8 o'clock, the Transportation Committee's Department of Motor Vehicles Subcommittee, they'll be meeting at 8 in the House Committee Room B. And then immediately upon adjournment of that subcommittee, Transportation Infrastructure and Funding Subcommittee will meet. Both of those are in House Room B. At 8:30 tomorrow morning, the Health and Human Services Committee will be meeting in House Room C up on the second floor. Once the full committee's worked its will or finished its docket, HHS Health Subcommittee will be meeting again in House Room C. Finally, the two caucuses will be meeting. Republican caucus at 11:30 tomorrow in House Room 2, and the Democratic caucus will meet at 11 a.m. in House Room 1. Mr. Speaker, apologize for butchering several of those, but that's the announcements for today.
Delegate for Prince William, Delegate Torrey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, may we return to the first morning hour for the purpose of a brief point of personal privilege. Fourth morning hour. Thank you.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, in the book of Isaiah, chapter 61, verse 7, part A, the scripture reads, "Instead of your shame, you shall have double honor." So let me read that again. Instead of your shame, you shall have double honor. You stand before us as a gentleman whom God has looked down upon and have given you double honor. Or you could have lived your life in shame and in embarrassment, but yet you honor the laws of the land. You did what was required of you. And we thank former Governor McDonald for recognizing that in you stood something worthwhile. And then that in you that stood of something worthwhile was confirmed on yesterday by the President of the United States of America when he looked at you and your life and your work and said, "You are worthy." And we thank you. And as my sister have said, "Well done, good and faithful servant, for you have not departed from him." And on this day, we celebrate with you and give to you the double honor that is so well deserving. And to your mother back in Texas, we love your son. We will support him untiringly. We will support you unconditionally. And we thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the demonstration that, yes, if God will give us a second chance, we ought to give each other a second chance.
The House will come to order. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart. No matter what we disagree on, we are brothers and sisters here. And I just want to say thank you. The delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring.
Mr. Speaker, I move that when the House adjourns today, adjourn to reconvene tomorrow at 12 noon.
Delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring, moves that when the House adjourns today, to adjourn to reconvene tomorrow at 12 noon. As been in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The motion is agreed to. Delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn.
Delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring, moves that the House do now adjourn. As been in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The motion is agreed to. The House stands adjourned until tomorrow at 12 noon.